Good afternoon on what is a grey, mild and cloudy day. It is Monday the 28th of August bank holiday. I've got a nice hot cup of tea and a box to continue unboxing. And what I have here is a copy of My Life with Master. Villainy and self-loathing. The life of a minion is a hard one. The horrific things you do to make it difficult to feel good about yourselves. If only someone loved you. My Life with Master, a role-playing game. So this is published by a role-playing game by Paul Sage. Published in 2003 by his own Half Meme Press. And this is a classic storytelling game, a classic indie game, if you will. Essentially, an indie game. It typically, at the time when this was published, was from an independent publisher who would self-publish, and that would typically be a storytelling game like Fiasco, like Dogs in the Vineyard, and so on. But this one essentially is a tense, emotional role-playing game about being caught between two pulls upon you. It's upon your essentially your master and the person whom you would profess love, and you play a minion to a master in the kind of classic gothic horror sense. So, for example, the classic minion would be Igor from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Serving Dr. Frankenstein in the creation of his creature or monster. And this was, I'm going to say, one of my introductions to indie style storytelling, because we go back 20 years, and this is 20 years old, that this was a radical change of thought and direction in terms of role-playing design, because it was one of the things that it was designed to tell a particular type of story, and it was focused upon that above all else. It wasn't meant to be flexible. It wasn't meant to cover all genres. And it was also designed to specifically engage with emotions and feelings, and that would come with playing out that story. So we open up, and chapter 1 is pervaded by fear. Your life is driven by fear because of what your master will do to you if you fail. And essentially, the setting is some Central European country. Unspecified, typically around the year 1805, in around a small unnamed town. And it's a game in which you all play minions, and you start off by defining the nature of your master. So essentially it's a setup session where you decide whether he's brain or beast, what his needs and wants are, and what sort of monster he is, whether he's a feeder, a breeder, a collector, a teacher, and these are not how can I put it, positive features of him. They drive him, and essentially the Mezzine is, the setting is a generic-sized area of early 19th century Europe with little more than a single town and surrounding rough, hilly wilderness. A master is a glorious force of emotion and imagination. His priorities stand in distinct opposition to common sense, and whose world is alive with the conspicuous forces of nature, decay, and life. And he should be essentially, he's a threat not only to the player characters, the minions, but also to the townsfolk. And then in the Shadow of Greatness, we have the minions who suffer from self-loathing and wariness. They are more and less human. They have emotions necessarily the master himself may not have, but his influence and presence reduces their humanity. And then at the same time as the minions go about their business for their master, they will come into contact with the townsfolk and their humanity, and that will contrast essentially with that of their own and their master. So they will have ties, and essentially, and as a master controls his minions with fears and by withholding affection, and they can be commanded. So you are always ultimately going to be saying yes, master, unless of course you can break that conditioning, which is through getting the love you want. Whether that's typically, it might well be through it could actually be from the master if you fall to his control completely, but it could be from someone in the town. So, and essentially, the stories are going to involve intimacy, desperation, and sincerity. It's dealing with strong emotions, as I said. There's a chance of being captured. Innocence being caught up in it, and the true horror of the master being revealed, because essentially he's a presence looming over the town. His castle or his manse up on the hill, and the tensions will come to an end game, and the relationship sort of like between the master and the minions will be settled once and for all. And after that, everyone will have a chance for an epilogue to see what happens to their characters. So we have essentially chapter 5, Brain in a Jar, which is really the help and advice section of this section for the game master, on handling scenes and sessions, on mastering the master, on how to portray the master. Managing minion creation, and it's understanding more or less, essentially how each minion is more than human but less than human. And these come with some examples. So in a most comfortable, it's most comfortable. For less than humans, is most comfortable in the company of the dead, who neither judge nor expect much of anything. She is incapable of doing anything amidst a crowd unless accompanied in some way by the dead, or relentlessly insulting in conversation unless the town's church bells are ringing. And this is what limits the minions' ability to interact with others. So more than might be, right, powerful, emotionally moving plays, unless he's been praised by the actors for whom he's writing. We've got a guide there to single session play, including NPC minions, and then we have a descriptive example of setup, which is Sebastian and Carlotta. And this is quite an extensive play, given the short nature of the book. And then we have a last words from Paul himself, basically pointing to the Forge, which was really the ground zero for the development of the indie storytelling community and publishing games. There are plenty of progenitors of the indie story movement. You would look at things like Adventures of Baron Munchausen, possibly Amber and Amber Diceless role playing, and the Prince Valiant, and then also Over the Edge and Everway, of course. So essentially the last scene is essentially potentially the two characters in the story that you play through just told is actually having a happy ending. That is possible in the game, and then you have the mechanics listed there for easy reference. Pages of acknowledgements, and then the character sheet for, or minion sheet, I should suppose, for My Life Master. My Life Master is a lovely little role-playing game, dark and twisted, as each of the player characters or minions are. They are still searching, for recognition and love. And perhaps they might be able to find it in this game. Otherwise, the master and escape the grasp of the master. Perhaps not. But, anyway, an influential little design that would, spur other designers to enter the storytelling, role-playing game design field, and ultimately that school of thought and design would percolate out into the mainstream. And change how we role-play today. So yeah, My Life with Master, published by Half Moon Press in 2003. Hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to alerted to get more unboxings where you can see me out here with a box containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied with a nice hot cup of tea, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing Nook. We'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.